Hey, everybody, this is Munson Steed, and we are on Design and Dialogue, where we bring you clearly some of the largest creative minds who are designing the expression of the world. One of my favorites out of New York City, clearly a winner by all the measures of God's measurement stick in terms of creative expression for that Black girl magic, for that young girl who understands and has that sister with superpowers. I'm talking about none other than Lo Harris. How are you, Lo?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Design and dialogue is where we share. You've got a hot new product at Target. Kudos to you. It's
Thank you.
really a powerful expression. Can you describe your project and when and where you got the call?
Well, I have always been creating artwork specifically for women that uses affirmational language, like I have a voice, I am worthy. Um, and I already had these artworks sort of made, over the course of the past 2 years that I've been getting into that flow. And I got an email from a former client who had since moved from another company, who remembered me, who remembered my work back from 2021. And she was like, hey, I am now in charge of D&I at this merchandise licensing company. I'd love to tap you and pitch your work to Target. And so they licensed some of the images, I sent them over, and she and her team went through the process of designing a bunch of products that um, kind of applied my work in very creative ways. And, the initial pitch, like it wasn't just t-shirts, like those are just the three that made it through. They also like pitched up backpacks and notebooks and hair clips, so many different things. And even just seeing those concepts was really exciting for me because it really sort of brought to light the potential for the merchandise universe that I could create through my work.
Let's talk about your universe. How would you describe if you were holding hands with two little Black girls? Why is it important for them to be able to don positive messaging in your work, just to be able to wear a Lo Harris?
Absolutely. So I kind of have to go back to my own experience as a kid, shopping for school supplies, shopping for back to school clothing, and seeing this brand called Lisa Frank. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Lisa Frank, but if you were a Black girl born in the 90s, that was the stuff. That was the stuff. It was rainbows, it was unicorns, it was stars, it was everything. And Lisa Frank had this fantastic way of creating this world of color that was just so tantalizing for girls, and it meant something for us. Now, the drawback to Lisa Frank was that she could draw a rainbow tiger and a rainbow dolphin, but there was not one Black girl in her universe. There were like different characters that kids would associate with, and like I would remember them vividly, but they were all white. And so for me, I kind of know what it's like to be kind of have a fanatic personality based on visuals that I see as a kid and what impact that had on me. Because when I was a little girl, I would only draw white characters. Like I would draw white characters because that's what I was seeing. That's what I was seeing from Lisa Frank. So for me, it's super important that I draw characters of color and specifically Black women characters because not only will kids get to see the affirmational language and have these mantras and see these characters that they can kind of be fanatic about, but I think that that's a great way to kind of craft their image and their self-image from a young age.
When you think about two of your affirmations that are in this current line, what are you most proud of, the expression?
I think that I'm very proud of the I Walk in My Purpose t-shirt. I think that that one was something that it was such a simple design that I did just to do it. I didn't have any agenda with it. I just wanted to feel like I was expressing what was in my head. And I think that it's like kind of like the rawest expression of the pieces that are in this collection, just because it came so naturally, it came so quickly, and it was just me vocalizing an affirmation for myself that I needed at that time. I think when I drew that piece, it was during a time where things were really lining up. Like people were calling, people were um, saying Low Harris, and I felt seen, and I felt like people were excited about what I was putting out. And I'd never experienced that before. I'd never been an artist before, in the fullest sense of the word. I've always been an artist, but I never really committed to being like an artist by living. And so this was my first time doing it. And I just felt like, man, I am walking in my purpose. And to this day, I still feel like there is nothing else that I could possibly see myself doing. Like, I don't know if I can go back to journalism in the traditional sense, because I still consider myself a journalist. I do try to talk to artists and interview other artists a lot through my podcast One on One with Lo. But I'm an artist. I'm an artist who happens to also be a journalist, and I can't see myself being anything else.
Well, let's speak a little bit deeper in that when you think of yourself as an artist, and you've done other work, commission, like share with some of our individuals with design and dialogue the occupation of being an artist and working with an author for like books.
Oh, well, that was a learning experience for me, just getting into children's books in general, because I had no idea. I didn't have any idea. I was going to say maybe I had an inkling. I had no idea how much work what goes into making a good children's book. I think that there's this conception that somebody whips up some musical words that rhyme and are just like, yep, it's like, yep, like that's a kid's book. And then like they just get like some random artist on Fiverr to like whip up some smiley faces and to just draw it out. And then then it's done. But I mean, at least with the publisher that I'm working with, right? Like I've learned that there is a lot of care and consideration that goes into the stories that are being told. And even working with an author, um, kind of challenged me to think outside of the box in my own art practice. Because at the time when I got that book deal, my art was not as developed as it is now. I think that I was sticking to plain backgrounds and just drawing female characters. And I was kind of in this box of kind of repeating the things that would get reactions on social media at that time, but I still felt scared to go outside of the box and to play with different mediums or to draw bigger spaces or to cultivate my characters in these detailed environments that also lend themselves to adding to that story. So one lesson that I learned with Mama's Home in particular, a children's book that I worked on in collaboration with an author named Shay Youngblood, and published by an imprint called Make Me a World at Random House. I learned the power of suggestion that art can bring to an author's words. So I learned that I didn't necessarily have to draw word for word what the artist was saying. It wasn't just as simple as, okay, design that. Like it wasn't a transactional process. Like I really had to bring myself into that project. And I really had to even, I'm currently here in Bessemer, Alabama, visiting my family, and I had to lean into my background and my history as a girl in Bessemer and getting my hair done in the hair salon that's in somebody's house, you know what I mean? And like having all of these like community members who are just like distinct characters in their own way. I got to bring that to the process and to have a conversation with someone who did not know those people, but still knew those people through her own lived experience. And I think that that was like really my first artistic collaboration that wasn't like, again, like a collaboration with the brand where it's transactional, but it was like two artists kind of having a mediated conversation around how they can tell a story and bring and their different generations to the table. Because like the author Shay Youngblood, she's an elder, she's significantly older than I am. And so it was so cool getting to see like how our experiences merged.
Beautiful. So when you talk to your work, what is a conversation like when you're designing and saying I'm walking in my purpose? What is it in that Afrofuturistic world that you're creating for Black generations to be able to see themselves. What are you saying in your work?
Oh, that's a really great question. I would say that I understand that my work can feel representative to other people, but at the end of the day, I'm representing my own experience and putting it out there in hopes that other people will be able to find something in that. And so when I make my work, I kind of say to every piece that I create, do with this what you will. You know what I mean? I let go of trying to attach a story to a lot of it. Like I have my own story and I'm willing to share that with people. But there have been times I really like allowing people to interpret my work and to kind of take it to the next level. So when I have the I walk in my purpose, creation, that I have a story and I have like a place that I was in when I created it, but then it takes on a whole new life. I'd say do with it what you will, and it takes on a whole new life when people from my community are wearing this shirt. I got word from my aunt that they're really selling out in Chicago. People like really love it in Chicago. And so when I go to Chicago and if I see someone I don't know wearing that shirt, it means something totally different, especially if it's like a Black woman wearing my shirt because she's walking in her purpose and her purpose is different than my purpose. And I kind of want to have the opportunity to have art that works as an amplification tool for other people's experiences rather than trying to put people in a box. Like use my work as a tool, do with it what you will, and be your most authentic self, because I think that authenticity is kind of an important tool in the Afrofuturist perspective, because you're not trying to subscribe to any expectations that are put on you, both like in the present or even like through the ancestral lens. Like you are going forward, you're moving forward, and you're moving in different and innovative ways that are authentic to you.
Thank you for that. Curiosity, just to wordplay. When you're designing, how do you allow curiosity to show up in your work?
That's been a skill that I've been cultivating for a minute, and I'm still learning that skill. I'm still learning how to stay curious without fear. I think that one of my humps in that conversation around curiosity is this fear of being bad at something or not being as efficient as something as I would like to be, and wanting to stay in my lane or stay in my box and replicate what I do well. But I think that in the past few months, even, I've been doing a lot of work, a lot of psychic work, of letting go of fear in my creative process and allowing myself to make way for that curiosity, because I can't be curious if I'm scared. I can't go looking for something new if I'm peeking around every corner, like kind of just like scared of what's going to come out and jump scare at me on the other side. And saying yes is something that I like to practice too, because I think that, I'm a very risk averse, or I have been in the past a risk averse person. I'm not claiming risk aversion now, but in the past, I've been a risk averse person. And it's been very easy for me to say no to things because in my head, if somebody gives me an idea, I'm immediately trying to problem solve for it. And I'm immediately trying to say, well, how can I practically do this? And then I say, no, it's not possible because I don't have this tool, I don't have this funding, I don't have this, I don't have that. So as an artist, I kind of realized, in seeing other artists, I've been, road tripping around the US and going to different galleries and seeing what other people are creating. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're giving themselves the space to make and to be curious and to expand. And now I have all of these ideas about wanting to imagine what my world would look like in pottery, and and try. I want to teach myself how to create plates and cups. I want to teach myself how to paint. I've been doing some traditional canvas work, and that's been really exciting for me because it feels so tactile and it feels so real. Um, And I feel like I'm undergoing a renaissance of curiosity now, but it takes a lot of work. It takes removing that fear.
Super. Well, I want to thank you for your time. You've done a phenomenal job. We're so proud of you. Continued success, which is already in your DNA, for coming here on Design and Dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Lo Harris. We are so proud of you. Let's all support her and all her creative endeavors. I'm Munson Steed. We're here on Design and Dialogue with Lo Harris. Thanks all.
Thank you so much.